Welcome back to another episode of the Humble Hustle Podcast. We are your hosts, Nick Jones and Kayla Ebner.
Hello, hello.
And we have a guest today.
We have a guest in the studio with us today. We've got Dylan. How do you pronounce your last name? Is it Pilon or Pilon?
It's Pilon.
Pilon,
well,
okay.
It's French, so it's Pilon.
Pilon.
But nobody...
French.
It's French.
That's so fun. Well, We've got Dylan in the studio with us today. He is the founder and owner of Cloud9 Marketing Group. He has been involved with marketing since he was a teenager. He's held several positions, including a digital marketing specialist with a Fortune 500 company. His journey brought him to start Cloud9 in 2014, where he works alongside businesses that range from startups and solopreneurs to some of the most recognizable brands in New England, helping them with all sorts of marketing efforts. He's also a very talented musician, fun fact. So welcome to the podcast, Dylan.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
So excited to have you. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah. We actually had a reschedule, unfortunately, but we made it. Here we are.
Yes, we're here. We've been talking about this for a while, and I'm just really excited to dive into all of this stuff with you. You have so much knowledge, and I know this because I've worked with you personally on some marketing efforts for my own business. We're still working on some stuff, going to run some wedding ads, which we can kind of get to in a little bit. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so thank you, first off, for having me. I'm grateful to be a guest on the Humble Hustle Podcast. My background, East Long Meadow kid originally, was going to go to Western New England, got accepted, found out that it was going to be $44,000 for my freshman year. Immediately decided that I was not going to propel myself into debt to go to college. So went to HCC, one of the best financial decisions I think I ever made. So highly recommend the community college path. Shout out to Holyoke Community College. And then transferred to UMass, got my bachelor's in marketing from there. While I was there, I got an internship with Newell Rubbermaid, which there was a large group of us, probably like 15 or so interns. And there were two of us that were afforded a full-time stay after the internship, so I must have done something right.
Love that.
Yeah, and in that role, I was doing a lot more like e-commerce and digital marketing, not as much social media, which is really what I was passionate about. So I started Cloud9 on the side, really just to kind of scratch that itch because I wasn't getting enough of that. And I went to the local bar that my friends and I would shoot pool and drink beer at on the weekends. And shout out the Still Bar and Grill, RIP, recently closed. But they gave me a shot as my first Cloud9 client, and we were able to roll that into another. And before I knew it, it was evaluating, okay, this could be real. It's my part-time side hustle gig, and what could I do if I really had 40 to 60 hours a week to pour into that? And did the math on, how much money does it cost for me to just exist on the planet with no quality of life, but just to exist. And the number was a lot lower than I thought. It was like just around 30 grand. So I looked at, where Cloud9 was at the time and do I think I can do this? And had a couple of conversations, one with my partner at the time and one with my parents. And everybody was like, if you think you can do it, do it. So I kind of took the leap and thankfully haven't really had to look back since, and we've just been rolling to where we're at today.
That's so great.
Awesome.
So it sounds like you had a supportive circle of people that you could trust and that were like, yes, go for it.
From the get-go.
Yeah. And I'm thankful for that. I definitely wanted it and I definitely believed in myself, but you got to do that like reality check real quick, right? Because sometimes you're blinded by your own ambition or whatever. And so it's always nice to have at least one or two other people be like, well, yeah, of course, why not? And I was young at the time. I was 23 years old. Wow. So it was one of those things. It's like, even if I try this, stumble through it, 5 years from now, I fail, I can dust myself off and then go get a marketing job in the world somewhere again. I'll be so young. So there wasn't a whole lot of downside to giving it a shot.
Yep.
And there was unlimited amount of upside. So for me, it was kind of like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that before because our journeys into entrepreneurship are very different. Like Nick always knew he wanted to do it and I kind of fell into it. And yeah, you just like it really is a leap, truly. Like, but you knew.
I did. Yeah. Like as soon as I got into this like video photo production like industry, I knew instantly like I wanted to run my own business around this.
Yeah, good for you, because I never had any entrepreneurial aspirations. It was just, I kind of always thought it would be a side thing, and I was going to climb the corporate ladder and be a good little noodle and just do what I'm told and make sure that I deliver and punch a clock my whole life. But, things turn out, people say everything happens for a reason, etc. I don't really know if I subscribe to that in its entirety, but there are some things like the pieces fall into place, and
Sure.
you work with it and you see where it goes. So that's where I got to where we are today.
Yeah, I'm in that boat too. I think some things happen for a reason, and other things just happen because the universe, life.
Sure.
Life happens. So what are some of like your favorite things about what you do? Like, give us a synopsis of some of the things that you like help your clients with.
Yeah, I mean, the best part of my job is definitely being able to work with all these different people that own or run all these businesses. That's the best part. I love to network. I love to get out there and meet people. And so the best part of my job is being able to help somebody else be successful. And if I can just play a role, no matter how small or large that is, making an impact on somebody else's business or somebody else's life is definitely the most rewarding part of my job. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm in love with writing Facebook statuses for a living, but it's just part of the gig, right?
Sure.
But thankfully, have a great team of people, and especially Steve, a marketing assistant at Cloud9 in particular. So having those folks to help support and do some of the things that free me up to go out and network and meet people and, do things like this. This is the part about Cloud9 that I love the most. Yeah.
You are a big networking guy. I feel like every event that I was at, you were also at. Like you're out there. Were you the member of the month at your chamber? Oh no, the board member of the month. You're involved.
I was just recently the board member of the year.
Board member of the year. Let's go.
Yeah, which was very nice.
That's awesome.
It means a lot more when you win something that was voted by your peers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When other people that you work alongside for a common goal, and we're all here to try to accomplish the same thing, and then all of those people say, he's the one who's doing it the best right now. That's a great feeling. So shout out to the board of the ERC5 Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congrats. That's such a flex. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm not on any boards, but I would like to be someday, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's no shortage of opportunity out in the Worcester area for you to get involved in stuff like that. So.
Did you start out on any like BNI groups or anything? Or
Yeah, I did. I think I'm like 7 or 8 years into Wilbraham BNI, and I jokingly say I'm being forced into the president's role, actually starting October 1st.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
as if you didn't have enough stuff going on.
I know. I resisted for a while, but some of the people in the group were like, "No, you have to do it." So, I caved.
Flattering.
It's not hard to get me to cave when it comes to stuff like that, unfortunately. But yeah, BNI, by far the number one thing that's helped me grow my business.
Really?
Oh, hands down. I wish I could clone myself and put myself in other chapters, because if I could, no joke, I really would. It's a great tool. So yeah, shout out to BNI. If anybody has an opportunity to get a seat in a chapter that has a good group of people that are really trying to do it.
Right. I feel like that definitely matters. Like,
that's the key, right? Any networking opportunity or it's only as good as the people that are in it,
sure.
right? So in Wilbraham BNI, we have a great cast of characters and people who have been in there for a long time and really embody that like givers gain mentality, which is one of the principles of BNI. But just like anything in life, you get out what you put in, and if you can provide value to people, then eventually that value will come back to you. So,
and I forget,
Agreed.
Is it like they're really strict on they don't allow like two people of the same industry at all?
Yeah, that's the whole model, really. Like, that's BNI's thing, is the exclusivity, right? So, at Chamber, as an example, because we were talking about it, anybody can join the Chamber. So in theory, there could be a dozen marketing professionals that are part of that organization.
Right.
So in the BNI model, once you join a group, you have exclusivity for that seat or that vertical that you're in.
Yep.
And that's extremely valuable, right? Because
sure.
If you do a good job with these people in the room and with their businesses or with their referrals that they give you, you're building that trust, you're building that rapport, and that's, what really networking is all about. So, yeah.
Yeah. I've been involved a little bit in my local chamber, and I haven't directly gotten any business from it yet, but I need to, like you said, the more you put in, the more you're going to get. So I just need to keep getting into those events and stuff.
Yeah. For you guys in the industry that you're in, is such a valuable skill set. So if you were able to get into the chamber, and a lot of them have, they do like trade agreements. So depending on how the chamber is structured and what their rules are, but you could probably negotiate a trade agreement where, maybe your membership is comped in exchange for video work, or even they provide you like sponsorship opportunities at events. So they plaster your logo all over everything and shout you out while you're there. Plus you're doing the video. So you could probably say like, hey, make sure that you tag me when you post this stuff, shout out to Kay Ebner for XYZ. And right there, you have a captive audience of nothing but business members. So there's a ton of opportunity out there if you're willing to work for it.
Yeah. I did it at their golf tournament this year. I sponsored it in exchange for video and photo. So
yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. Just keep kicking and see what happens. You love networking. So I'm glad we did this tidbit about networking, because it was...
The only difference for me is I mostly work with brands, not necessarily brick and mortar businesses. So the direct correlation of going to these networking groups and getting hired by them doesn't necessarily directly correlate to me, but I obviously still see the value 100% in just growing the network.
Now, when you say brands, give me some examples.
I do a lot with e-commerce products and health wellness brands.
Gotcha.
So a random beverage brand, they just ship me a case of the whatever. Sure. And I just shoot it. Yeah.
Yep. Gotcha. Product photography
really
is tricky. Videography and photography for products is tricky.
I love it.
The lighting, right? That's the key, right? You must have,
so
what do they call it? A
it.
light box? Is that the thing that you put the product in, or a diffusion?
For very small products, yeah. I normally just use a full-on white backdrop. But
Gotcha.
I'm such a perfectionist that I feel like my perfectionism is so suited for product work because it needs to be perfect.
Yeah, and I think you've talked about that a couple of times on some older episodes about the because you are, if I'm not mistaken, not necessarily perfectionist mindset focused, and you are. So to have that balance between the two of you, I think is great for the show.
Yeah. It's really cool. And I assisted him on one of his spec ads he was doing for a beverage for Swoon. And it came out, I couldn't believe it. I was mind blown, some of the shots that he got.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work, but it's so rewarding.
It's 90%
seeing it come
setup
together.
For the shots.
It was
and then you record for 3 seconds and you're all right, got it. Let's spend 45 minutes to set up the next one.
The next one, yeah.
It was crazy. It was really cool to watch. It was awesome. Yeah. So loved that little networking mindset. That was a fun intro. Can we dive in to marketing 101? Let's start with the basics. What are things that people and businesses and brands need to have? I'm talking website, social media, bare bones. What should people have?
Yeah, I think it depends on where you're at in your business and what industry you're in and what you do for a living. But at the very, very minimum, got to have a Google business profile, got to have a Facebook page. Facebook and Instagram kind of go hand in hand now as part of the Meta platform. A YouTube channel can be very advantageous. If you're in the B2B space, LinkedIn is one of those things that's probably a non-negotiable. So, in a website at this point, I feel most consumers probably would look at your business a little differently if you didn't have one. There's a certain validity and trust that comes with that because it's not free, right? Anybody can have a Facebook page, or anybody can have a LinkedIn company page or a Google business profile because they're all free. And,
right.
But a website is one of those things that just kind of an extra step up, a little bit more credibility, I think. But those would be the ones where it's like, at a minimum, you should really have that because it's essential for visibility, never mind the credibility piece. You can't really do business if people can't find you. So
right.
True.
Yeah.
The Google business page profile is interesting. That was the first thing out of your mouth. I set mine up when I started my business, but I feel like that's something that people might overlook. So that's a big one.
Yeah, it's really good for organic search. Coming up in a search result on a Google search, having a Google business profile is very important. But also that's the number one place to capture reviews.
Yes. That's what I mostly use it for.
Yeah, me too.
Exactly. And there, in terms of like functionality, that's one of the main things, of course it has, all your contact information, your hours of operation, that kind of stuff. So that's important for people who are in the moment trying to get to you and find out, can I patronize your business? So of course, immense value in that. But the reviews piece, right? The first thing that people do these days when they're looking for a product or a service is they're probably going to either A, go to Facebook and say, hey, I'm looking for XYZ, who do you recommend? Or B, they're going to go and search that exact thing on Google and look at the Google business profiles that come up, and they're going to look at the reviews. And even if you are recommended in a Facebook search, if someone tags you, they're going to go and look at you on Facebook, and then they're probably going to go check what your Google profile looks like because they want to read the reviews.
Yeah.
So that's why those are super important.
The reviews are so underrated, I think, because like think about just a normal consumer on like Amazon. You're buying a product. We all look at the reviews before you buy it because you want to know if it's good.
Yep.
I've
So
learned that
think
the
of that
hard
for
way.
your business.
Yeah. Reviews are super important, and a lot of businesses don't do a great job of asking for them. And that's really the key. Because if you don't request them, you're only going to catch the people that were absolutely blown away by the service or the people who didn't have a good experience, right? And you don't want to leave it up to that.
No.
Because there's so many people that are in the middle that, everything was good. They were great. I loved it. But they're not going to just think to go leave you a review instinctively. Right. So that's one of the things that we do when we work with a company is we set up a process back end to make sure that you are sending out a request for a review to everybody that you think is going to give you a good review, right?
Is there a set time frame of like after you've worked with them that's you wait before you ask, or do you just ask right away?
I would say the sooner the better. Like once you know that they're good, ask right away, because the more recently and like however fresh it is in their mind thinking about how great the product or the service was, they're going to be more inclined to leave that review.
Right.
So you don't want to wait to follow up, weeks or months after the fact, because then that experience has faded a little bit in their mind, and that warm and fuzzy feeling that they might have is probably a little dulled.
Yeah.
So we try to get them right away.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a closing process that's involved with making a sale.
Yep.
And that's really the best time is like right after everything's closed. And again, if you have a feeling that they had a good experience, right? If somebody had a terrible experience, you're not going to prompt them to leave you a review. But the sooner the better, for sure.
I've gotten a lot better about it recently, sending out review requests, and especially for weddings, like sending wedding clients an email, hey, like, after I usually do it after I deliver the final, because I do a teaser video, but when I've delivered the final video, I send it out, and I try to go this step further, and I send like a handwritten thank you note too in the mail.
Love that.
And then I send it out just like, because I'm still building in the wedding space, like very much still, and trying to grow it. So I want people to know, and every client, knock on wood, every wedding client that I've worked with so far has been great. So I'm like super thankful for that, and just going to continue to try to find those good people that I really vibe with. But yeah, I've been good about it recently, and I've gotten a solid few reviews from it. So most people are willing to spend the 5 minutes to write the review. So the worst thing they do is like either ignore you or say no.
Right. Yeah. And it's so easy to leave a review, right? And especially if in that follow-up process, you give them the link that takes them directly to the review page. 5 minutes is probably more than anybody would need, right? And that's a good thing. That's advantageous to you as a business owner, that it is so easy and there's such a low barrier. And doing it right after you deliver the final product is perfect timing because they watch that. You do good work, so they're blown away. They're reliving their wedding day, and they're having all these great feelings of the experience. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is great! This captured everything." I feel like everybody would leave you a review if you asked for one. Yeah.
So I have another quick question of the business profile. I've heard that people say like basically treat it as another social media platform in the sense of uploading photos, like consistently uploading photos to your Google business. Do you see that as relevant?
It is very relevant.
Okay.
I would say not because I don't think humans actually look at that stuff.
Right.
Right? They're going to go to an Instagram account or a TikTok or a Facebook or whatever. But for search engine optimization.
Exactly.
So Google is going to crawl that profile to index new content that's on it from the last time it crawled the profile. So when you're uploading content to your Google business profile, keeping in mind that you're really doing it for SEO, search engine optimization, for the folks watching who might not know the acronyms, you want to make sure that the name of the image file that you're uploading
I was just about to ask you that.
is SEO friendly.
Yes.
When you're writing the description of the actual post, using SEO friendly language in there. And what I mean by that is you want to put in verbiage that a consumer would type into Google when they're looking for you. So instead of just uploading a wedding picture and writing a caption of, thank you so much to XYZ couple for hiring me for, to film their wedding, you might put like, are you looking for a wedding videographer in Worcester? Because when someone types in wedding videographer, Worcester, Massachusetts, right? Then that is indexed by Google. So Google's going to say, wait, I know a business profile that 90% of the content that they upload is wedding videographer in New England, wedding videographer in Massachusetts, wedding video, it's all in there. So Google's going to say, oh, this profile always talks about that. It also has a lot of positive reviews. Because it's in Google's best interest to serve the most relevant, accurate search result that it can as quickly as possible. So Google can trust you because your profile's got a lot of positive feedback on it and it's optimized for the phrase that somebody's searching for. That's kind of the home run.
Does that go beyond Google, like the renaming stuff?
Yeah, that goes on YouTube too.
Instagram or no?
Well, every profile, right? Because in the back end, the search engine is going to crawl every piece of content that it can find.
Okay.
So it goes across the board.
Because I spent time renaming every photo I uploaded to my website.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good idea. Yeah.
Oh, God.
And the same thing for your YouTube channel, right? YouTube is, of course, owned by Google. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world behind Google.
Yes, it's also owned by Google.
Right, exactly. So, making sure that the video file, the title of the video, the description of the video, there's a place for tags. Doing a location, you can actually put in when you're uploading a file, where was this filmed? So all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then commenting. The comments also is something that, YouTube looks at. If a video gets posted and it has 0 engagement, not great.
Right.
So, getting comments and then replying to those comments because every reply also counts as another piece of engagement, right? So that goes in social as well.
Always comment back on people.
Yeah, you have to reply, So, we offer a community management service and part of that is replying to comments, messages, and reviews. You should reply with more than 4 words.
Right.
Because the spam bots have taken over social and, so these platforms are aware that, the bot autoresponder that just puts great photo with an emoji like this. They're not really counting that. So, make sure that when you're leaving a comment, it's thoughtful. It looks like a human actually wrote it. But those are all pieces of the SEO pie.
Wow.
You briefly went into YouTube. Can we talk about YouTube for a quick minute?
Yeah.
Because that was something I used to do a lot of. I don't do it a ton anymore, both personally and for clients. I used to do a lot of YouTube. So I was intrigued when you said like YouTube was one of the things you really recommended for every business to have. Because earlier when I was doing stuff like this, I didn't see it as necessarily like a requirement. I would always recommend it as seeing it would be helpful. But hearing that you think it's more of a requirement, it was interesting to me. Because I agree. I would tell my clients that it's, owned by Google. It's a search engine. Like, use it to get leads. It's very easy for real estate, for example. That was what I used it mostly for. I worked with agents trying to build basically almost like an influencer brand on YouTube as this like really nice luxury real estate agent dominating this one area. And it worked. So like, we got someone to almost 3,000 subscribers, like 40,000 watch hours per week, like getting leads from it. It's crazy. So like, he actually gets leads from YouTube and has closed many like projects from YouTube. So it's like, I'd love to hear more about why you see YouTube as such a requirement for businesses and what you see the benefits are.
Well, everyone's trying to compete for attention, right? So it's like the attention graph. There's only so many places that somebody can put their eyes in a 24-hour period, right? And because YouTube is a search engine, there's immense value in that. And finding, in real estate specifically, since that's kind of like something that we've all had experience in over the years, being able to rank or come up in a search result in Google, being fed a YouTube video in a Google search result, and then allowing that person to then kind of go down the rabbit hole, there's value in that. And, YouTube has released YouTube Shorts because they're trying to compete with TikTok and with Reels. And so, all these platforms are kind of just ripping each other off and duplicating.
R.I.P. Vine. Vine was the best.
Vine, yeah. Remind me, we got to get back to that. Put a pin in Vine because I have a good lesson for people around that. Okay. But the YouTube thing it's definitely the value of the search, right? I don't look at YouTube as a social media platform anymore. I think in its heyday, it very much was. After the Google acquisition, I think it's really more, the benefit is really heavily in search. They have a comment section, of course, and people do comment, especially depending on the industry, right? In real estate, it might be a little bit harder to get a comment on a YouTube video. Yeah. But, in other industries, depending on what it is that you're showcasing, and of course, it's all video dependent, right? So if you're a brand that isn't investing in video or doesn't have video, which is a mistake, maybe YouTube's not one of those mandatory non-negotiable platforms because you can't really do much with it. But if you're a brand and you're already investing in video capability that you're doing for your website or for email or for Meta, then it would be silly not to take advantage of a YouTube channel because all of this stuff is free.
Yeah, and you just repurpose the content.
And you can then run Google ads on your YouTube account. So there's the other piece of it, right? Yeah. So you don't have to rely on organic channel growth because if you film a couple of strategic pieces and run YouTube pre-roll ads on those, the beauty is that you can target people based on what they search for in Google. So when you're running a YouTube ad, I know that you searched for real estate in the past X number of days. So when you're watching a music video, you'll get a YouTube pre-roll ad for our real estate video because I know that you just searched for real estate and you're within a 15-mile, 20-mile radius of where our channel is located. Right. So there's all sorts of different factors that come into play when you're talking about YouTube.
Do you think it's more optimized for like lead generation or brand awareness or both?
I would probably say both, but the lead generation side is probably more favored if you're running the paid ads. Okay. Yeah. But the visibility, you can get organic growth on a YouTube channel for no dollars, and that's the exposure and the brand awareness piece of the marketing. And then the sales and the lead gen side. And of course, you can get sales from organic, especially if the content is really good. And that's when it comes to make sure you're hiring a professional video company to handle that piece of your marketing for you. Right. Because it's very important that you have high quality content especially to make that first impression, right? Because you might only get one shot to get in front of somebody, and if you blow it because you have low quality content, then there's an opportunity that you fumbled. So
I know you wanted to talk about like organic and like
Yes.
is it still worth it?
Yeah,
that kind of
so-
ties in.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Can you talk a little bit about, and this can be, any social media platform, because you talked about the social platforms that businesses should be on, and I do want to talk about TikTok after too. But in terms of organic versus paid reach, I've seen significant drops in my views, in my likes over the last year. I mean, I was getting like 100 plus on almost every video, and now it's like way, way, way down. So can you talk about organic versus paid content?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a place for both, no doubt. And, these platforms, they're smart, right? They realize that the only way that they get paid is through ad revenue. So they throttle down organic reach intentionally because they want businesses to invest in ad spend. So it's not just you. It's not an isolated incident.
I know, because everyone on Instagram is screaming at Adam Mosseri to fix the algorithm, and he's not going to.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, I get it, though.
I totally do. I get it.
Yeah, it's literally the way that they're built. And, there's a famous line. It's like, if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product.
Yes.
So as a consumer on a free social media platform, you're the product. They're selling you to the advertiser. That's why you get to use the platform for free. So keeping that in mind, organic reach is going to be less, and I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to go down. I think one of the more recent stats is like organic reach on a Facebook page is between like 1% and 8% of your following.
Holy crap.
So to put, that kind of puts it into context, organically, if you're going to get 1% or 3% reach, then it kind of forces your hand a little bit to go into the paid space. What I would say is like, it depends on what your budget is as a business and how you can afford to allocate your marketing dollars. But a good method to approach it is, from a budget conscious perspective would be you can post everything organically, then watch how it performs. And if you see a piece of organic content that seems to be over-indexing or popping a little bit, that's probably an indication to you that it's a good piece of content. The market is telling you that it's good. It's getting more reach. It's getting more engagement. That would be something that then, hey, we should put some money behind this. Right. And the good news is that social media ad dollars are inexpensive. You can get people to watch a video in Meta for a penny. So that type of exposure is really hard to get in other platforms. And some platforms are competitive. Like we do a decent amount of Hulu ads for our clients.
That's cool.
And we see average is like 3 cents.
Okay.
So in Meta, I can get it for a penny, sometimes 2 pennies, sometimes 3, depending on, what the video is about and what the industry is. So they're kind of comparable. But, to get that level of exposure for that very minimal investment. So one of the most frequently asked questions that I get is, well, how much money should I be investing in like a Facebook ad? I say at least $5 a day, which everybody goes, oh, that's not that much money.
No, that's very approachable.
I'm like,
very
yeah,
easy.
Right. Like almost everybody can fit that in their budget, right? So even if you're going to say, all right, I'm going to run this for 4 or 5 days, I'll spend $20, whatever. That's something that they can get result and get a good return on their investment. And, sometimes that's ROI in terms of a sale and actual revenue coming in. But sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes you're looking at it for like, the exposure is worth it. I'm getting return on the money because I'm getting the visibility, which hopefully down the line will translate into some sort of revenue.
Right.
But even in, lead gen, especially real estate specifically, you can generate a lead, first name, last name, phone number, email for $1, $1.50, $2. And if you nurture that lead and 12, 18 months down the road, you sell them a house and you make $4,000 commission on a lead that you generated for $1.50, you love your life. There isn't an agent in the world who wouldn't do that over and over and over again if they could, right?
Right.
So yeah, the paid product is a necessary evil in a lot of instances, not mandatory, but it's almost like, why would you leave that opportunity on the table? Because it's so cost effective.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow, my mind is blown right now. I'm learning a lot, and I talk to you,
No, honestly,
I feel like
same.
a decent amount. This is great. You touched on social media platforms. Can we talk about virality? Is that a word? Virality? Virality? That's a great word,
valid.
Kayla.
That's valid virality.
Yeah.
Virality.
Exactly.
You just invented a word.
I just invented a word.
Trademark that.
Trademark
You heard it
right
here
now.
first.
Yeah.
This is the first time you ever heard that.
Because I feel like so many businesses out there, and this is a lot about TikTok, right? You're trying to go viral. And from my perspective, when you see that, like I went viral on TikTok accidentally. I posted a video of my dog that went viral. And I tried to capitalize on that, and I was posting other videos that had nothing to do with the video that went viral, and crickets.
Yeah.
So can you talk about, like, I don't know, I guess, is going viral even like worth it? Or should you just, because in my opinion, you should be posting content that is targeted toward your audience. Like, who are you trying to sell to versus like trying to just blow up for something random?
Wait, can I say something before? It's just because I want to say it before the professional chimes in. So my personal thoughts, and feel free to shut them down. But I don't think people should be like aiming to go viral, because similar to what just happened, like I've gone viral for wedding stuff as well on accident. And then, so when people go viral, like you said, it almost makes you want to keep making that content. But if you, and that would make sense, right? Like, okay, this one thing did great, let's just keep pumping that out. But eventually that's might not be something you want to be doing or want to be known for.
Right.
You might have just gotten randomly lucky
you're known for.
of some side thing that went viral, and then that would just destroy your brand. So I don't know. It's kind of like going for perfection. Like, people shouldn't strive to be perfect. They should like strive for progress. So similar to going viral, I don't think that should be the goal for anyone. Like, if it happens, great. But in terms of like actively trying to go viral, I don't think you should be doing that.
No.
This is such I wish I had a notepad, so as you guys are talking, I can write down my little, this is such a multifaceted issue. So number one, I heard a quote one time, strive for perfection, settle for excellence.
Okay.
I like
That
that.
stuck with me, right? And going viral is not a KPI, right? It's not a key performance indicator. That shouldn't be a goal. You know, that's not part of your marketing plan, or shouldn't be, at least.
It's a happy accident.
Yeah. And so Vine, and I'll segue my way back into this.
There we go.
So Vine was a platform, 6-second video. It was a moment in time. And there were influencers on Vine who their whole business was built around that. And then they got acquired by Twitter, and then they got shut down completely. So if you were a Vine influencer, one day you woke up and you didn't have a business anymore.
That's messed up.
So that's a lesson right there, is that you need to diversify. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. You can't rely on, oh, my Instagram account is so good, it's this and it's that. And then one day the algorithm changes, or, you know, what if Facebook bought it and then killed it? That could have happened. It really could have. So then Musical.ly came around.
I was never on that.
Yeah, well, and then Musical.ly turned into Vine, or it turned into TikTok.
Yeah,
Musical.ly turned into TikTok. And TikTok is interesting because it was the first platform that prioritized showing content of people that you don't follow. So it was the exact opposite model of every other like social media that was really, really, really prevalent in doing it. To have that where their whole goal is to get you exposure. And that's why going viral on TikTok was so much more common than it was on other platforms, was because it was engineered that way.
That's a good point. I never thought about it that way. That's really interesting.
So yeah, the thing about going viral, Babe Ruth, who's like deemed the home run king of baseball, I think he only hit a home run 8% of the time.
Wow.
So if you try to apply that theory to business, is it easier to hit 4 singles or is it easier to hit 1 home run? You score the same amount. Mm-hmm. So kind of keeping that into the business context, you know, going viral, unless you're niche viral in your community of people that are actually going to become a customer of yours, doesn't serve a whole lot of value. You get that account growth, you get that massive engagement spike, and then that will have a snowball effect for sure, right? But having that to be a goal to set out and accomplish that is a dangerous proposition because you're sort of setting yourself up for failure and disappointment because it's not easy to constantly hit home runs. Mm-hmm. It's really hard.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Even the best baseball players in the world strike out. Mm-hmm. So when, you know, I'm talking to a client, if they use, or, you know, even a prospect, if they use that word, it's sort of like a, hold on. I'll stop the meeting.
Yeah.
Hold on. Talk to me more about what you mean by that. Define viral. Talk to me about what it is that you actually are looking to accomplish, because putting that label on it is where it might get dangerous. And then trying to back into what do you really mean by that? Because it's such a buzzword and people everybody wants to go viral, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really important to look at it through a realistic lens of what's your industry, what's your marketplace, how do you sell to a consumer? You know, if you sell a product through e-commerce and your market is the world, well, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. But if you're a real estate agent, for instance, that only has a license in one state, then it doesn't really do you a whole lot of good if you're trending in a state that's 3,000 miles away from you.
Yes.
It will have some ancillary effect on your accounts and the health and the growth, and that's all well and good. But that it might not translate into you actually growing your business. So it's tricky. It's a sexy thing, and like I said, it's a buzzword, so people are really into it, but it's there's a cautionary tale in there somewhere. And Nick made the point of like, you don't want to get pigeonholed or boxed into you're known for this thing, you're a one-trick pony, because it could be hard to then later down the road diversify because, you know, you're the guy who makes the videos and at the end of the video you just go like this because there was an easier way to accomplish the thing. Like, I don't know that guy's name, but I read something the other day that he's on track to be a billionaire before 2030 because the brand that he built around literally just shrugging in videos because there's an easier way to do this thing that someone was doing in the video.
Oh, I think
you know who
I know
you're
talking about.
And then he got so popular, like he was in Fortnite. He's just like some random guy. He got a Fortnite skin because he went viral on the internet, right?
It's so crazy.
And I'm sure there's thousands of examples of people like that who got known for this one thing. And if that's not a sustainable thing for you to be known for, then good luck. That's a tough road to hoe. So, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, I think just the chance of you going to that level of viral is so small. Mm-hmm. It's stupid to have that as a goal.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. We're all in agreement on that. Yeah.
Okay. Little transition. What are some of the most common mistakes you see people making on social media? I kind of want to talk about as well, like casual content versus professional, because TikTok obviously, like, casual content, and by that I mean, you know, not filmed
like
professionally,
like UGC?
iPhone stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, UGC, user generated. So like, I don't know, what are some common mistakes that you see people making on social media that are like just the most glaring ones?
Yeah, I mean, because we're on a video focused podcast, you know, under investing in the little stuff, right? Get a ring light. Get a little shotgun mic that you can put on your iPhone if you're going to film on your phone or whatever. Get like a little Rode mic and attach it to your phone. Get yourself a tripod. Like, don't film videos while you're driving in your car. Like, those are some of the ones that you see often. People who use the @followers or @everyone or whatever to notify everybody.
I think, get that a lot.
Yeah, I think that one's a little
corny,
a little cringy. Yeah. And no offense to anybody who does these things. I'm not specifically trying to call anybody out. So I'm sorry if you're like, oh, that feels like me. Yeah. Those are some of the big ones that you see regularly. Mistakes in social media, there's a wide variety of things that could potentially go wrong. I think remembering that if you are a professional, even if you're on your personal account, everybody's watching you. And we are in the height of political season right now. And I see people that are, business leaders that are saying some pretty egregious stuff. And, I was taught a long time ago by my first accountant. He was like, just be careful of what you're saying, because you're gonna upset somebody, guaranteed. Especially in today's world, you're gonna offend somebody, and you just don't know where that might impact you down the line.
Right.
So I think professionalism is a really important one. Being aware of how you're positioning yourself in a public eye in front of the world is super important.
That's a great point.
Yeah. Those are some of the really big ones.
I don't talk about anything political on my business or personal.
Yeah.
Nothing.
A lot of people, one question I get asked a lot is, should I feature my children in my content?
Oh, that's a big one too.
And, should I be putting them on, should I put my children on my business page? Should I put my business stuff on my personal page? And I think that comes down to really personal preference. I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong answer. I think it's all about the way that you're doing it and, how frequently are you doing it. But that's one to be, kind of be aware of.
I'm glad you say that, because that's exactly what I tell. I've had that question asked to me as well, and that's exactly what I say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know people who have no shame and will pimp their kids out for views. Like,
sure.
Everybody. We all know somebody who does it, and it can be totally fine. But I think there's a tactful way to do it, and so those are kind of the things that come to top of mind for do's and don'ts, rights and wrongs, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and do you believe in, like, if you're a professional and you have a business or a brand, do you believe in posting a little bit of personal content? Like, do you find that it's beneficial for you to post some things about your personal life? You don't have to go super deep into it, but like, is there a benefit to people posting about themselves personally on their professional page?
Yeah, I think it's important to, humanize the brand. People do business with people, on a local level. They don't do business with logos, right? Obviously, if you're Coca-Cola, that's different.
Yep.
But I think having a personal brand that's tied to your company is actually important. Building those relationships are the things that are going to help you build your business. And so, yes, I think that's very important. There's the other side of that is like, why didn't I name it Pilon Marketing? There was a reason I didn't do that, right? So if you're building a company because your hope is to be able to scale that and sell it someday.
Okay, see, that's exactly why. Not that I really plan on doing that, but just like for the good business practice of thinking down the line, that's why I didn't want to do anything self-named in case I do want to hypothetically sell the business. It's now a sellable asset because it's not tied to me.
Yeah,
right.
Or even if you don't sell it, but you want to be able to take a little bit of a step back, people would be buying your name, like the client. If everything is so hyper-focused around your personal brand, then there's sort of a expectation that we'll be working with you because your name's on the door.
Right.
Whereas, you're not buying Dylan per se, you're buying Cloud9. Cloud9 has a team. So we have people that might be an account manager for you. You're going to deal with me during the prospecting and the onboarding. I'm going to build out the systems and the processes in the background. I'm going to run that for at least the first few months to make sure that everything is established. You know what to expect. We understand how this partnership is going to work together. And then there's somebody internally that will then be facilitating your account for you, right? Sometimes no, right? There's people that I am running the show for them, and I always have been, and there's a chance that I might always be.
The VIPs.
But that's not scalable, right? Because at some point there's a ceiling, right? There's only so much time that Dylan
you
has.
can't do it all.
Yeah.
Can't do it all, right? So, but being a personal brand, inside of your company brand, I think is important.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the networking, right? Always being out there and meeting new people and doing volunteer work and, donating to different causes or charities and things like that. Like, I'm huge into that. We are very big in the community, and that's an intentional decision that I choose to allocate my time and some of the revenue back into that, because I think that's part of that like personal brand. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I have a goal, actually met it this year, like already halfway into the year, but I had a goal to do, I think it was either 2 or 3 like video projects for nonprofits or like charities, so I worked for Dress for Success. Nick very generously helped me with that. And I loved it. It's sometimes like the most rewarding thing you do, and you're not getting paid for it, but like, man, it makes you feel good when you see it.
Yeah.
And you are helping people to achieve an amazing goal. So yeah, I like the community aspect of it too. I think it's great.
Yeah. And that goes back to like, you asked what my favorite part about it or what that's it. It's the impact that personally I am able to make as a result of Cloud9 being able to generate the revenue that it generates, that then allows me to go and do these other things that I care about or to help people that I care about. That's a big piece of it. I have a couple of scholarships that are set up that are funded by Cloud9, and we do a lot of work with nonprofits and charities and things like that. So that's the beauty of, personally being integrated in the community and then being able to use your business or your brand as a tool to help foster those relationships that you personally have. That's, that's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
Small business is so important.
So important.
And, I think we're transitioning out of the convenience economy a little bit,
What do you mean by that?
So it was like the product economy. Then it was like the service economy. Then it was the convenience economy with Amazon and all the online retailers and the fact that you can get something delivered to your door with the click of a button, and there's a lot of convenience behind that. And then we were transitioning into like the experience economy, where people were then paying a premium for things, experiences that they could go out and get that weren't, might be a premium. But I think COVID, one of the good things that came from that was people realizing how important their actual community was. Shout out Living Local 413. That's a nonprofit I'm on the board of. And their entire mission is community and business development. So tying together all of those different aspects from, our political leaders, and then organizations like the Visitors Bureau and the Economic Development Council, the Chambers of Commerce, tying all those together with the actual towns that all of these businesses operate in that are fueled by the consumers, right? There's a lot of layers to that puzzle. And, so Living Local 413 is a nonprofit that I'm passionate about. And, if you invest your money locally, it's like 68 cents of every dollar stays in your community. And that's massive impact on how your actual day-to-day life is going to be. People get really fired up over national politics, and understandably, but your local community and those political leaders, your city council members or town council or your state representatives, the senator that represents your state, or it's divvied up, but your section of the state, those are the people that are really lobbying and helping, trying to bring money back into our community, with grants and funding, like all that ARPA money that help businesses stay alive and reinvest and redevelop. So I think COVID put a focus back onto, hey, it makes a lot of sense for me to be inconvenienced by having to go out of my house to purchase a product, or to go to a restaurant that is locally owned and operated instead of just conveniently going to Applebee's, right? Because, it's cheap and the kids like Applebee's, or because they have dollar Ritas, right? Like with a thimble full of booze in them. But, go to your local bar, your local restaurant, or support a local store that sells a good that might be a couple bucks more than you could get it for on the internet. And you have to leave your house to go and acquire it. But I think that's a huge piece of what's going on right now. There's been a resurgence of that mindset.
I agree. I see it too. I know a lot of people who do their very best to shop local whenever they can. Yeah. And I'm one of those too. Like, I went to a local coffee shop today instead of like Starbucks or something. So they're local, right? They have a couple, right?
Yeah, they have a few locations around here, but they're here.
Yeah. So I love that. The community aspect is really fun.
Because those are the people that are going to support you.
Exactly.
Right? Like Starbucks is probably never going to hire you.
No.
Right? So it makes sense for you to invest your money locally just because it's the right thing to do. But then there also might be an ancillary benefit where that person is going to realize, like, hey, she comes in and buys her cup of coffee from us 3 or 4 days a week. We really appreciate that. Because she's been in here, we've had conversations. We know what she does for a living. We've really been talking about making investments in video, and we know we need to do it. So let's call Kayla, right? Like it's all cyclical, and then all that money continues to stay in your community.
Yeah. Yep. That's a great segue to my next question, which would be, video is huge right now. So as a marketing professional and expert, what would you say to businesses or brands that aren't currently using video? Or like, what do you see the benefits are of using video professional?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a loaded question.
Yeah, no, I think these days everybody kind of gets it. It's very rare that you see a business that's at least not doing something video-wise, right? But this is the way it works out from the social media side of it. So the platforms prioritize video because video keeps you on their platform longer and it keeps you engaged. And the longer that you're there, the more ads they can serve you and the more money they can make. So if you post a video, the platform is more likely to organically show that to more people than if you posted a photo or a text status. The flip side of that is consumer behavior. No matter what you're doing, you can consume a video. You can watch it with the sound on. You can watch it with the sound off and read the captions. You can listen to it and not watch it. So no matter what situation you're in or where you are in the world, you know, if you're out in public or whatever, if you don't have your earbuds, whatever, you can consume a piece of video content. So it's great for that. But really what it comes down to is like, people are inherently lazy. So if they can watch a 45-second video where somebody reads a paragraph to them instead of making them read a paragraph, they're more likely to do that. Also, attention spans are extremely short.
Oh yeah.
And it's a lot easier to catch somebody's attention in the first 3 to 5 seconds of a video than it might be with a still image or no image at all. So there's a lot that goes into, the psychology behind why video is good, and also because the platform is going to favor it. So yeah, if you're not doing video, I would challenge you to give me a really good reason why, an actual good reason why. Right. And like, please don't say, 'cause I'm shy, or no one cares about what I have to say, or everyone already knows what I'm going to talk about because everybody is super nosy. So everybody cares about everything.
So true.
I tell that to everybody. I'm like, people are nosy.
Yeah.
Like, it'll do well.
I joke. I do speaking for like college students and high school students. And one of the things I joke about, I'm like, the Kardashian family at face value provides like zero utility to the world. But they're
so true.
It's a really nice way to say it.
Well, sorry, Kim. You get what I'm saying. Like, of course, now that they've risen to fame and they have philanthropy work and this and that, and of course, and like built billion-dollar cosmetic lines and all of this.
I'm not saying
you're wrong. But, when that television show first aired on E! Or whatever, like, no value. Yeah, pure entertainment.
It's like The Bachelor.
Precisely.
All those shows.
Right. So if they can become the most recognizable family in the world, then somebody is going to care about what you have to offer, And the other piece about like, oh, well, everybody already knows that. People don't know shit, especially if you're in an industry that has some technical nature to it, like buying or selling a home, for instance, right?
Right.
If you've never gone through that process, you know nothing. And if you have gone through that process, you probably did it like 7 years ago and you don't remember.
Right.
Also, you were in a completely different place in your life. So like if you bought your first house 7 years ago, what you had to do and approach that and the process you went through is going to be very different now if you have a house that you're selling and also looking to buy. Right. So there's an immense amount of education that can happen through video. So just push the button, please, for the love of the Lord. I'd rather see you do it poorly than not do it at all.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because then once you do it and you're, oh, that wasn't that bad. Okay, great. Now let's build from that. Let's make it a little better. Get yourself that ring light. Get yourself that microphone. Maybe you outsource somebody to edit it if you can't outsource for the whole thing. Maybe you are okay enough to film your own stuff and then you have someone who's good enough to edit it together and make it look a little bit more professional.
Add captions, add subtitles.
Some transitions, some graphics, some background music, whatever. Make sure that it's formatted properly for whatever the medium is that you're going to be putting this video to. So that way contextually it works the way it's supposed to. But yeah, just do it. Yeah, you got to do it.
And you'll get better. Like that's what I tell people who are maybe, like if I'm working with someone who it might be their first time getting on camera with video, a lot of it is just trying to make them feel comfortable, let them feel warmed up, and maybe you don't crush it the first time, but like if you give it a few tries, like you will get used to it. You'll get so much better. It'll feel natural. Like when we first started this podcast, I was like so nervous. And now it's a conversation.
You almost didn't want to do it.
I didn't. I was so scared. I told him, I was like, hell no. What do you mean? I can't do that. Like I tried doing a radio show in college and it was not great. But like it's intimidating and I totally understand that it might be really scary at first. But the great thing about what we do is like it's not we can edit it. Like you can do a couple tries. So just try it out and see how it goes. And I practice what I preach. Like I am now posting videos on social media where I'm talking. Like I know what it feels like. So, for the people who are saying the things that you had mentioned, you heard from people like, girl, you just got to try. Just try once. And if it goes horribly wrong, okay, like at least you tried. But chances are it's not going to go that bad to where you're like not able to use any of the content.
And if people won't do business with you because your hair doesn't look perfect in a video, are those really the people that you want to work with anyway? Probably not.
No.
So that also keep that in mind, right? People, everybody's their own worst critic. I hate
the sound of my own voice.
Yeah, I think that's a universally accepted.
Oh yeah.
But in the intro, you said I'm also a very talented musician, and I audibly chuckled at that because everyone's their own worst critic, and I've retired from music professionally because people love my music far more than I do, right? Or my ability to perform music.
It's hard.
But you still have to do it, right? It didn't stop me from trying to do that. And for 3 years I was in a band and we performed live, and I didn't enjoy it. It was never something I aspired to be, never wanted to do it. But I didn't let it stop me. So you can't let your own reservations, your own self-doubt handicap you from that next thing. Because if you are a business and you're not doing video because you're afraid of X, Y, or Z, just think about all of the opportunity that you're leaving on the table because you aren't. And hopefully that will inspire you to get over your fear.
Yeah. Right. Because a lot of people are doing video nowadays. So if you're not, you're getting lost. Like, it just is what it is. Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
No, if you wanted to move on to your little ending segment.
Yeah. Do you have anything that's like burning a hole in your brain that we did not ask you?
I don't know. This is pretty comprehensive.
This was great.
Yeah, no. Again, thank you for the opportunity. I'm very grateful to be featured on the Humble Hustle podcast. I don't really, the only other thing that we haven't really touched on, that's something that I generally like to talk about, is how people define success. And so this is a super important one for me. You can't let anybody else dictate success for you. And a lot of people, especially younger people, college students, high school students, I think they're very focused on money being tied to success. If you are passionate about traveling and you have a job that allows you to go on 2 or 3 or 4 vacations a year, and that's how you want to live your life, you're successful. If you want to be home for dinner every night because you have a family and it's important that you have dinner and you can put your kids to bed at night, and you have a job that allows you to do that, you're successful. Like, if you want to make $1 million a year and you have a job that allows you to do that, great, you're successful. But, don't tie success to money. Just make sure that you're just happy at the end of the day, and that you're able to, live a life or operate a business or work a job or whatever that allows you to accomplish those things that you want to accomplish. And I think that's an important thing for people to keep in mind, especially younger people. So, that was one thing that I don't think we really directly addressed during the show. So that would be the one thing I think I would add.
I love that.
That's great.
Yeah. I think that's super important. And you're right. Everyone has their own definition of success. And I think I'm still working on finding mine now that you just said that.
It's very easy to be influenced by hearing other people's
especially
success.
in this day and age with digital stuff. Like, you see all these young people going on fancy trips and like buying all these things, and like they could be broke and like running up their credit card bill. You don't know.
Absolutely.
It could all be for show.
Or that car is leased.
Yeah.
Or that house is rented.
Yeah. When I bought that Aston Martin, y'all thought it was rented.
And or the people that they're hanging around with, they're not actually their friends.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Even if they think they are. Right. So there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into that, and social media, I am of the belief that social media is actually wonderful and is actually good and provides so much value to the world. The internet as a whole, and social media specifically, is an amazing tool when used for good. Just like any other tool, it can be used for evil.
Right.
And if you go on your Instagram and you scroll and it makes you sad, then don't go on it.
Yeah.
Or unfollow that account.
Unfollow that person.
It's an important thing, because you have to make sure that you're good here, or nothing else in your life is going to work.
It comes down to, I say this a lot, like self-awareness.
Yeah.
And
don't believe
knowing
everything
yourself,
you see.
not being influenced by others, like knowing what is successful to you.
Yeah. I shop at Old Navy and I drive a Ford, and it's not because I have to.
Yeah.
Right? It's because I don't prioritize those things. I don't need designer clothing and fancy clothes. I don't need to drive an expensive luxury vehicle. And I've literally had people say to me, like, Dylan, you're a successful business owner. Like, why don't you drive a BMW or a Mercedes? And it's like, because those are expensive to operate and fix. Like, and I would rather not pay $100 for an oil change. Like, you know, those are not things that I prioritize in my life. They're not part of my success and my happiness. So, but there are plenty of people out there who feel that it's much more important to drive a luxury vehicle, even if you're parking it in your parents' driveway.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not,
No
that's
shade.
not a
No
knock
shade.
that
Yeah.
people,
No
if you
shade.
live,
Yes.
you know, if you live with your parents or whatever, that's definitely not a knock at all. But if you're driving that car because of the way that you'll be perceived in public and not because you truly love and are passionate about that vehicle, maybe your priorities are a little fucked up, you know?
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah. And it's so easy to go down the rabbit hole of comparing yourself. And I do it all the time, but like, I think you just need to catch yourself in those moments and be like, okay, wait, let me take a step back. This might not even be real. Like, try not to compare yourself, and just don't believe everything you see, right?
Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see.
Yeah. Especially in politics.
In anything.
In anything.
In
right,
anything.
right.
Yeah.
You're right.
The rumor mill, it turns very quickly.
Yeah. Thanks for adding that. I liked that.
Yeah.
For the end. And I want to do a quick little fun segment. I just thought it would be fun to do a little this or that, like kind of a rapid fire, just some fun questions having to do with marketing and social media. So I'm going to fire off a couple at you.
And these are genuine. I have no idea what these are.
I did not.
These
I
are
did not tell him.
pre-screened, pre-rehearsed. So this is all, I'm shooting from the hip here.
Yep. Okay. So first one, Instagram stories or Instagram reels, if you had to pick one.
I'm the worst person to ask this because historically, I'm notorious for I don't watch stories. Anybody's stories.
Really?
Then my friends used to get mad at me. They would post stuff on Snapchat 10 years ago, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, this and this, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know.
See it.
Oh well, I put it on my story. I'm like, I don't watch your story. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't watch anybody's
you're not
story.
a story guy.
I've literally had girls tell me back when I was single, how come you never watched my story?
Oh my God.
I'm like,
Wow.
don't take it personally. I don't watch anybody's story. So I would pick Instagram Reels.
Okay.
That's
All
funny.
right. Hashtags or no hashtags?
No hashtags. I mean, now they've been
anymore.
proven to be essentially irrelevant for growth.
Yeah.
Is it Mosseri? Adam Mosseri, is that how you pronounce his last name?
I don't know.
Mosseri, the founder of Instagram, and I think he's still the head of it. He
CEO still?
operates.
Yeah.
The Instagram, the hashtags are not a growth prioritization tool for them anymore. It's not a focus for them. So
You heard it here. No hashtags.
Yeah, no hashtags.
Okay. Viral video with no conversions or steady engagement with consistent sales?
I'm not even going to answer that
we went
question.
over that. We went over that one. SEO optimization or paid ads? That's a hard one.
That's so contextually dependent. But I would say, I guess I would say that if your SEO is working for you and is a profitable avenue, then that would be great because it's no additional
No
cost
money,
to you.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that's I mean, that would have to
Love
be
that.
the answer there
I love the
contextually.
honesty. Long form blog content or short social media posts?
So long form anything, even video, it's only really going to be effective for like your core people that truly love you, because those are going to be the ones who actually want to stick around and consume that, especially if you have to read it. So for most people, I would say that answer is probably short form.
Okay.
Like if your podcast was Joe Rogan 3 hours long, maybe your mom would watch it for 3 hours, right? The vast majority of people are not going to dedicate 3 hours of their life to your podcast. So the vast majority of people, short form would be the answer.
I like that.
Now, that's not to say you can't take a long form piece of content and cut it into 100 clips and use that as your short form, which is what most people do. That's a common practice. So
batch content.
So
batch it up.
There you go. So that's the caveat to that.
I like that. Okay. Perfectly curated feed or authentic raw posts?
Raw, always raw.
Yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
Nick.
I love that. I love it.
You know, perfection is impossible, you know, so
Yeah.
to speak. And the beautiful thing about the industry that you guys are in is that there's no such thing as perfect, right? Because all creative mediums are subjective.
Yeah.
Art, music, photography, videography, poetry, like all of that is subjective. You could look at a piece of artwork and you could say, I wouldn't give you the pocket change I have in exchange for that. And it could sell for tens of thousands of dollars at auction, right? So
What
that's
was
the
the
beauty.
art that was like a banana nailed to the wall and it was like this like spectacle of something? Yeah.
Precisely, right? Some of that
Everything
like
is art.
splatter painting,
Right.
and those things
Yeah.
go for buku bucks, and it's like, yeah, literally, I could have accidentally done that like half asleep, and you know, so that's the beautiful thing about, you know, the industry that you guys are in is creative content is subjective, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So yeah, that's the perfect part about it, and that's another reason why you should make content if you're
Yeah.
not making content is because somebody out there is going to like it.
There's no one right answer.
There's
Yeah.
no right or wrong, you know, from a technical perspective, of course. Yes,
Sure.
Yeah.
there's a technically accurate way to set up lighting or sound equipment or camera equipment or this and that. Sure.
Rules are meant to be broken.
Yeah.
Fair enough, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just a few more. So this, I'm switching it up a little bit. So looking at it from a lens of like, this is one of your clients. Okay. So if your client, would you rather have them be posting endless stock photos or endless memes for content?
God.
This is like a negative.
Oh my gosh, I know. I get so my only thing on that would be just like make sure that you're not going to get sued by
Oh.
stealing somebody else's.
He's
Content.
got the legal perspective in there. I like that.
You
I
have
like
to
that.
like most people don't realize that there are licensing rights, and if there's a photograph, even if it's a stock photograph, whoever pressed the button to take that picture owns the rights to that image. And just because it's on a stock site doesn't mean that you necessarily have legally acquired commercial rights to utilize that piece of content. So that's a huge one
Yeah.
because it like, and we saw with these meme accounts, like that account Fuck Jerry, they got into huge legal trouble because they were just
They
going
did?
on the internet and taking other accounts' content that they saw, and because they had a bigger audience, it would pop. And now
they
that's
wouldn't
why
tag people.
on these meme accounts, if you read the caption, they give credit to where they took it from.
As they should.
Yeah.
I got a request, actually, side note, from like this Boston Instagram account. They were searching for content for the Big E, and they were like posting it in like a blog for things to do in Massachusetts, whatever. And they commented on my drone photo I took from the Big E, and they were like, hey, would you let us use this? Comment yes. And then they had like click the link in our bio to read the rules. And like they would have been able to use it in any publication. Like they wouldn't have given credit on every platform. So I was like, no thanks. You know what I mean? Like, so like you can, if you want that, you can pay me. Like I know the exposure might be good, but I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm not going to give that to you for free.
Especially if you're not guaranteed accreditation.
Exactly. So
Then
that
the
was like one
exposure's
thing
useless.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm glad I read the fine print. Read the fine
Yeah,
print.
always read the fine print. So to answer that question, I mean, I guess if you're legally acquiring it and the meme is funny and relevant, I would take the meme over
Yeah.
the stock photo.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so would you rather have an unlimited ad budget but no say in the creative, or full creative control but a small budget?
See, you guys are probably going to hate me for this one,
Oh, no.
but it's only because of the way you phrased it. If I have an unlimited ad budget, I can spend money forever. So even if the creative is not what I would want it to be, if I have unlimited ad dollars, we can do something with that. If I control 100% of the creative, but you tell me that I have $5 for my annual marketing budget, now I'm solely reliant on organic to run the whole shebang.
Yeah.
For me, that's a dangerous proposition. So
Yeah, makes sense.
you know, that one,
Yeah.
it's that one, the answer was, it's all in the phrasing of the question. But
Yeah.
if the ad budget was reasonably capped somewhere on both sides of the equation, I don't know. Do I know the person who's making it? Do I trust them? There's so many factors.
There are so many factors.
There's so many factors. The creative really at the end of the day though is the answer. So having control over the creative would be
ideal.
Yeah. And that if I'm handcuffed to that situation.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Last one. This is a hard one. I'm interested.
Great.
Instagram or Facebook?
Facebook.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Facebook, people think a lot of things about a lot of platforms, and most of the things that they assume or they think are wrong. And Facebook is still utilized by the largest age range of people. And the other like people assume that Instagram and TikTok are for young people. The people that are creating the content on Instagram and TikTok are younger, but the people who are consuming it are older.
Oh yeah, my parents are addicted to TikTok. Mom and dad, they're so addicted, it's actually crazy.
Yeah.
They will sit on the couch, they'll put on a TV show, and they'll just both be scrolling on TikTok sitting next to each other. It's crazy.
And
It's so funny.
And television media will convince you that it's a good idea to run TV commercials, right? And then that's the exact scenario, right? Like the commercial comes on, but they haven't been watching at all.
Exactly.
Or they get up and walk out of the room or whatever,
It's an interesting world we live in.
Facebook is still for me in terms of, access to audience, access to data, all that stuff. They're still head and shoulders above a lot of the platforms out there. And, they've built a machine that I think it's going to be hard to top, right? Like you never know, right? I mean, 25 years ago, nobody would have seen Facebook coming. And so there might be another thing.
I know, what's the next platform?
25 years from now, there might be another thing that comes along and changes the world. And that could be something that, once VR adaptation actually happens, because right now it's not. People definitely thought more of the world would be lived through goggles in 2025, but we haven't gotten there. Not mass adaptation yet. Once that happens and Ready Player One becomes real life,
reality,
then something is going to come along, and maybe Facebook will beat whatever the startup is, or they'll acquire them or whatever. So maybe it will still be Meta. But that, they've built a machine that, aside from, the internet itself and maybe the Google ad product, we've never seen anything like that before. And I think it's gonna be hard to top. So that would have to be my answer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do we miss anything? How do we feel?
No,
I feel great. That was awesome.
Good.
Thank you.
I feel inspired. I feel educated.
Very educational episode, which
great.
is fantastic.
This is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it again. And, it's great to be able to do stuff like this. And the fact that you wanted to have me on the show is awesome. And everybody, if you haven't already subscribed to the Humble Hustle podcast, you should do that.
We love that.
Thank you. Where can they find you?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, you can find our company website is c9mg.com. I am fortunate enough to have a 4-character domain name, which is a rarity these days. So, if you want to get in contact with Cloud9 for any sort of business inquiry, that would be where you find us. And on social media, we don't really use, I'm very guilty of not really using Cloud9 social, but we're
talking about that.
At Cloud9 MKTING on almost everything. And I am personally at Pilon _ Dylan on every platform. So
there you go.
That's how
nice and easy.
Yeah. We try to be, that's one thing. I always try to get the same handle for everything.
Yeah.
Especially,
it helps.
it definitely helps. Yeah, it definitely helps.
For sure.
So
cool. Well, thank you so much for being on. We had a great time. And you guys know you can check us out at Humble Hustle Podcast. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're not on Facebook yet, but maybe I'll change that. Make a little Facebook page. And once again, thank you for watching and listening, and submit any stories you have at the link in our bio. We're going to do an episode read by you. Are we doing hot takes? Whatever.
Yeah, let's do hot takes.
Yeah,
We'll
hot
say
takes.
hot
Send us
takes.
your hot takes about the industry in general. Anything that has to do with photo, video, creative, whatever. Send us your hot takes, and we're going to do an episode on that soon. So
Let's do it.
yeah, thank you guys for watching.